Hello, everyone, and inside today's Locked On Canadiens, the Habs laid a giant egg against the Senators, and I have some thoughts about the NHL broadcasts.
You are Locked On Canadiens, your daily podcast on the Montreal Canadiens, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 996 of Locked On Canadiens. We are your daily Montreal Canadiens podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where you get your team every single day of the week, wherever you get your daily podcast, Google, Apple, Spotify, or if you are watching on youtube.com in video format as well. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. And remember to make every moment more, because right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Just visit fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. Let's jump into things. We've got a lot in this show I want to get to for as long as, again, my internet continues to hold out amongst the fierce winter storms coming off of Lake Erie. I am your host. I am Scott Matla. As always, Laura will be back for the next episode. Don't worry. So if you have missed her, she will be back, and I will have someone to help rest my voice for a week here. You can follow me on Twitter at Scott Matla. Just to run down the show here, the Habs and Sens game is still going on while I'm recording this, in case you're wondering how bad that game has gone tonight. It's gone about as badly as I could have pictured it going. I have some thoughts about the NHL broadcast related to something that happened in the Habs and Senators game tonight, which is just continues to mystify me. And then we got a couple of Friday mailbag questions that I want to get to. We'll get to as many as we have time for in the email there. But let's jump into things. We know the Canadiens were on a back-to-back. And I said it in the previous episode here that they always, the second game of a back-to-back, no matter what, is terrible. Oh, look, they might have scored again. I believe it is now 6-2 in this game. Anyways, they came out and they were terrible. They were at one point in this game being outshot 14-2 in the first period. Caden Primo did about as much as he could, but not even remotely close to enough. It just horrendous kind of stuff. And it didn't get any better. I posted a screenshot in the what used to be the SB Nation Slack chat with a screenshot that said shot 17-3 and the Canadiens are losing 2-1. I don't know how to better say it than this team played like a steaming pile of censored all night. And every Habs fan just knew this is what was going to happen. They played so well against all of these good teams. And then the minute they were down to, and I'm going to say it, a bad team, a team that will now be 13 points behind them in the standings. And I know 6 games in hand or whatever, this and that, but they're not a good team, and they just didn't show up. And the Senators did. Admittedly, they got embarrassed against Colorado, losing 7-4 in that game. And I said it in the preview for this, that this is a game that it reeks of trap game. And guess what? That's what happened. The Canadiens weren't ready. Caden Primo was not at his sharpest in this. And the minute you knew this game was turning is that Brady Tkachuk hit Mike Matheson from behind, left him winded, no penalty. Matheson pushes and shoves with Tkachuk. Play goes the other way. Sean Monahan, beautiful look off the underside of the crossbar out. Uri Slafkovsky misses on the bouncing puck rebound. Play goes the other way, and Brady Tkachuk scores immediately. At that point, you just throw it all out because you know it's going to be stupid. And to highlight some of the good things, and there are like 2 good things in this, Michael Pezzetta has a goal tonight, which great for him. He also beat the crap out of Zach McEwen, who outweighs him by about 25 pounds and is at least 3 inches taller than he is. And Cole Caufield gets another goal. which is important. I love watching Cole Caufield pile up points right now. It's just no one else showed up. The defense kept allowing 2-on-1s. Ottawa's offense scores a lot of goals, and I assume a lot on this kind of counterattacking style of play here. And the Canadiens, so overly aggressive, getting in deep that their defensemen are back or defensemen trying to pinch, not getting to the puck, and just getting burned. And nothing changed. From period one, you got outshot, you got outworked, you got outcycled everything. You're lucky to be losing by 1 goal. Very lucky for that. And what happens is you come out and you progressively play worse. You have defensemen who aren't, who just aren't getting it done. I watched David Savard on, I don't even think it was Tim, it might have been Tim Stutzle's goal or whoever. It didn't matter because I watched him slowly get back there as fast as he could, get danced around, and then watched, them score a tap in. Primo didn't have it tonight, which is unfortunate because I thought he did about as well as he could in the first half, in the first period, and then he got shelled. And this shouldn't be that upsetting because they were probably lucky to get a win against Colorado or beating the Devils, whatever. I thought they were more than good enough in the Devils game to get a win. The Colorado game, up in the air. This is a game that not getting anything out of should be looked back on as an issue. And the thing is, this is now 7 straight losses to the Senators. Martin St. Louis, for whatever reason, against the Senators, does not have an answer. Can't get saves, can't get any defending, their penalty kill is worse than the Canadiens, remember. And the power play just had nothing tonight. They gave them an opportunity to get back in this game. And you know what happened? They scored a shorthanded goal. That was luckily waved off for goaltender interference. It's a problem. And they play the Senators again next week. And it's going to probably be the same thing again. Part of it being, the second half of a back-to-back. Yes, I get it. But at the same time, are you kidding me? This is the best you could do against the worst team in the Eastern Conference? Are you actually kidding me? It's so frustrating because you think this team's going to turn the corner and then they just can't. And this was that exact game. I don't want to pat my back and gloat on this because I didn't want to be right about this. But I said it on Twitter and I said it on the show. They're going to play so well. Andrew Berkshire said the same thing. And they're going to play their dumbest game against the Senators because the minute these two teams take the ice, all logic and reason goes out the door. The hopeful news that I have is that no one in this game got hurt and that nothing dumb has happened since I've started recording. Like I said, I'm recording this while the game is still going on because, quite frankly, I don't want to watch this anymore. I didn't want to watch it anymore. And it's not great. It's oh, good. Brady Tkachuk is apparently diving in a 6-2 hockey game. Embarrassing. You're a poverty franchise. Where my issue with this is, can you bounce back from this? Because this weekend is the Boston Bruins. The Boston Bruins, who just hammered the Colorado Avalanche 5-2. And then you play the Senators again. And then you play the Islanders. And you have to bounce back because Boston will hammer you worse than this. And they're supposed to. But knowing the Canadiens, and I swear I know exactly how this might go, the Habs are going to be there all the way, losing overtime. They might get outshot by 10, 12 shots, but they're going to play a game where they get everything to the outside. Power play kind of, lets them down, or the penalty kill lets them down a little bit. Montembeault is just dialed in, gets it to overtime, and then they just lose. It would be peak Montreal Canadiens for that. For everything tonight, I award you 0 points. They got to have mercy on your souls, et cetera, et cetera. Be better. And I feel kind of dirty almost saying that because be better feels kind of cheap. But at the same time, we as Habs fans know this team is capable of more. We know Caden Primo is capable of more. We know this defense is capable of more. We know the offense is capable of more against a team that struggles to stop goals. And you made them look like an elite team out there. Like Barry Trotz was coaching this team. It's frustrating. Probably not as frustrating as, NHL fans trying to watch any games at this point. Between rights distributors going out of business, blackouts, there's got to be better things or better options for fans to watch games. And the fans deserve better from NHL broadcasts across the board. I'm going to dive into my issues with that coming up next. But first, if you ever need to hire, you're going to need Indeed. And I'm going to tell you why, because we're all driven by the search to be better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. And if you need to hire, you're going to need Indeed, because Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. I went through the whole job search thing. Indeed was a lifesaver. I found jobs that fit exactly what I was looking for and my strength, and I was able to match up with them in an instant. So right now, as listeners of the show, you will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/lockedon. Some terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed. Also, today's show, as I mentioned off the top, is brought to you by the fine folks at FanDuel. The NFL regular season has wrapped up. We are in the playoffs. It is the divisional round. Taylor Swift is coming to Buffalo to watch the Chiefs lose to the Bills. The Packers are taking on the 49ers and so much more. And it's the perfect time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. It's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And the app's super easy to use. And when you win, you can cash out immediately on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. Find bets in the Explore tab to see what suits your fancy. Find a new parlay in the Parlay Hub to see what other people are doing. Find the most popular ones there. Make your money and cash out, and so much more. All you got to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL and us here at Locked On. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens. I am your host. I am Scott Matla, and I am exceedingly grumpy. I know it's such a change of pace from how I usually am. My bright, cheerful demeanor and happiness and everything here. Look, even my microphone is glowing for those of you who are watching on YouTube. Got a new mic for Christmas. Isn't it fancy? We've talked about this before, but that's besides the point. I had kind of a crystallizing moment in the past week here where, for the most part, I try not to criticize broadcasting too much because it's a hard job. You have to remember a lot of names. You have to call the action. You have to be able to flow in and out of the game and add things to it. Some people are great at it. Mike Johnson, wonderful. Absolutely great. I think Frank Corrado is getting very good at that as well. But I want to back up outside the actual on-air content. Fans deserve so much better from NHL broadcasts across the board here. And let's start with my biggest complaint that I've had for years. If there is a game on NHL Network and you don't get NHL Network, you cannot use ESPN Plus to stream it. It will not be available anywhere else in the US. You are SOL. The game on Saturday between Habs and Bruins is on NHL Network. I have no way of watching this game. Why? I don't know. NHL Network does not offer a streaming service. It is not part of ESPN Plus. It is an auxiliary cable channel for people. What am I supposed to do with that? I can't watch this game unless, you do something illegal, yo ho, and I'm not, saying people should do that because that's against the code here. But it's frustrating. And then you have blackouts. Good friend of the show, Ian Boisvert, lives in an area where, okay, the game is in his region, MSG, blacked out. MSG isn't carrying it on either of their channels. So he cannot watch it on ESPN Plus, and he cannot watch it through MSG streaming service, meaning you do not get to watch this game at all. I live in the Buffalo Sabres network area. So when I can't watch most of the Sabres games because I understand that they're on MSG, that is my local network, I don't have cable because I don't watch enough TV to need that at this point. So I understand if I can't watch the home broadcast, but the Sabres, when they went to Montreal a couple weeks ago, why am I blacked out from a game that is being played in another country? I don't really get that. And now to kind of bring things full swing in here, the quality of the broadcast and the streaming platform on ESPN Plus is terrible. I'm going to be real honest with you. It sucks. And I'm going to start with just the technical side of things. Everyone knows that I, cut clips for Eyes on the Prize of stuff that happens in this game here, post them on Twitter and people yell at me, etc. There will be points at the game where the whole thing will just go, sorry, we can't play this anymore. In the middle of the play, crashes. And if I hit refresh, okay, the page reloads. And then the streaming player doesn't work. I have to close out of Google Chrome, reload everything, bring that back up, and then go into the schedule and find it again. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it crashes Chrome entirely, not just the page itself freezes. Then tonight in this game, I am watching the Canadiens TSN broadcast, Brian Mudryk and Frank Corrado on the call. From puck drop, about every 30 seconds, cut to black, back to the action, like it's staticking in and out. And then late in the first period, just complete meltdown. Quality's gone, audio's gone, it's stuttering, it's frozen, the picture's terrible, and then they have to switch to the other feed. And this happens more often than not on a platform for something that they were so excited about, which great. I do love that it's on ESPN Plus because I have ESPN Plus. I had bought that originally when I was in college to watch baseball, and I use it for hockey now, which is great. I have a way to watch that. I'm happy to do so. The biggest issue I have with this is half the time the app doesn't want to work. If I'm watching on my tablet, because sometimes I'll just kind of be watching in the background, just throwing a game on, a game that I know I am not blacked out on, that is not on national TV, that isn't on NHL Network, anything, I will click on it and it'll go, you are unauthorized to view this content. And I go, no, I'm signed in to my ESPN Plus account. Okay, clear that. Force close the app, open it. You're not authorized to view this content. Click OK. Go to reload it, and then the app loads anyways. Fans deserve better than an app that works less than Twitter, which is saying a lot. And I believe it was earlier this week that I believe it was Corey Schneider, who does all three zones, who tracks all of the games. Legitimately, if there's one person who ends up watching or looking at most of the games to track things, it's Corey, someone who uses this for some incredibly important work in the advanced stats community in hockey and in so many other things. He goes back to try and watch some of the games and, track things and check in on things to see what's going on. Reached out to ESPN support. Used to be with NHL Game Center, you could go back years. I used to, when NHL Game Center was still a thing, I used to go back and watch some of the Habs playoff games, some of the best Habs Bruins or Habs Leaf games, just for fun to have on in the background. I've watched Matt Sundin night more times than I care to count because it was hilarious. You can't watch games past 30 days anymore. Those games disappear from their archive after 30 days. You're the literal biggest sport entity in North America. And your answer is to do what? Not have this? It's a joke. And now I can get into my other thing. The actual quality of some of these broadcasts is terrible. And it is one complaint I have. TSN, for the most part, I have loved. I might disagree with some of the things Dave Poulin or Craig Button say, but at the same time, I at least can listen to them without wanting to puncture my eardrums. I've tried to watch games on Sportsnet when they've been on there because I don't have a choice. It's the national broadcast. They have facts that are wrong. They're not even trying on player names. They're not even trying to call a fair game. It's abysmal. I watched them call Samuel Montembeault Mont, like Monten, Bo. There's an M in there. At least try Montembeault. That just repeatedly over and over again. In the game against New Jersey too, Cole Caufield had a sick assists. At least I think it's what it was, because the camera angle they gave me was up in like the 300 level, pointed down at the ice. But before that, we got two great camera angles of two shots that the Devils didn't score on, and no other replays of this. You're the national rights holder in Canada for this. And your quality of broadcast is so bad that anytime Gary Galley is on a call, all the fans watching assume he hates their team. Leaf fans, Habs fans, Oilers. Well, he doesn't really call Oilers games, mind you, because West Coast, whatever. But most of the quality of broadcast is abysmal. I'm not going to get into the actual on-air, like in between content, because that's not anything the NHL can control. I do think Kevin BX is whatever, but that's an entire rant for another time. Fans deserve better than broadcasters who just don't seem like they give a crap. Like I've listened to a lot of wild broadcasts watching AHL games. They might not be perfect, but they care. And I think that's one of the biggest things is that they absolutely care. And I'm kind of upset that this is what's going on. Fans, and I am saying this, is that fans deserve better. But the NHL is happy to leave things as a mediocre half-finished product. I still am not 100% sure what's going on with the whole Bally Sports, Diamond Sports. They're apparently being bought by Amazon thing. It's across the board. I'm hoping for so much more and so much better for NHL broadcasts going forward. It's going to be with ESPN for a while. There's too much money in it. But just fix your apps so they work. Make things available to fans. If someone would like, hey, I'm a new hockey fan in the middle of summer, can you show me one of the fun games from this past season? I have to go, nope, can't do that because they're gone. If it would work, who knows? That is my rant on that for today. It is now Friday when you were listening to this. That means it is time for the Friday mailbag. I've got a couple of questions here. I'm going to dive into those for as many as I can, and that's all coming up next. But first, today's show is also brought to you by the folks at GameTime. Like I said in the last segment, the NFL playoffs are going right now. It is hard to find tickets, at least tickets where you're not sure, how much am I actually being charged? What are my seats going to look like? Take all of that away. GameTime makes it super easy. The price you see for your ticket is the price you are going to pay for that ticket. No hidden fees, extra taxes, fees, any of that stuff out the window. And before you buy that, you can go and get a view directly from your seat. You will see exactly where you are sitting, what your sight lines look like, everything else before you buy the ticket. So you can be 100% satisfied. And the best part with GameTime is there's last minute ticket deals, flash deals, zone deals, everything. And they have the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection. Weather's been crazy out here. You never know what's going to happen. Job loss protection and so much else. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with GameTime. Download the GameTime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Some terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download GameTime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. We are back here at Locked On Canadiens, or at least I am back here. I'm going to try and dive into some of the mailbag questions that were sent to me by my co-host. If you ever want to send us a mailbag questions, at LO_Canadiens on Twitter, lockedoncanadiens@gmail.com. You can also tweet me at Scott Matla. Though for the most part, I have most of my mentions turned off because Twitter is a cesspool. However, I will do my best to respond to as many things as I can. Our first mailbag question comes from Bill. The most recent Habs trade, I believe this is the Philip Cederquist trade with the Sabres, had them receiving future consideration in return for a lower-end player, other way around. In reality, what does future considerations mean? Does it mean the other team is just happy that you took on their salary and that is enough? Is it giving them a more preferable player in a future transaction? Is it money thrown another team's way, but the amount can't be disclosed? Is it a restaurant voucher to Schwartz's Deli or the next time in Buffalo? Please make the muddy water clear again. So future considerations is usually a 7th round pick, an AHL player. It is a body for the most part. And sometimes it might not be anything. Future considerations can just never be claimed because I might be wrong, but I believe there is a limitation on that because the Habs have been in some trades where they've sent someone off for future considerations that I don't think they ever got back. Usually you get like a 6th or a 7th, or in the Habs case, like last year, they made a trade to get Nicolas Baudin, and I believe they sent Cam Hillis and someone they got future considerations. That future consideration, another trade turned into Riley McKay, who's turned out to be a halfway useful AHL player. For the Habs in this one, they might send an AHL. They completed that trade with the ECHL swap, I believe. Not 100% sure, but it's not usually much of anything. Most trades that involve future considerations are late round picks. So we have another one from Bill in our email here. Good morning. I hope you two are feeling well and the sun is shining wherever you may go. I've gotten, let's see, this is from last week. And since this email has come in, we've gotten almost 4 feet of snow in the city of Buffalo. So it's great. My question is this: why do the Habs perennially have a crap power play? I know currently you can chalk that up to lack of talent, but they haven't had a decent power play since Vincent Damphousse or Guy Lafleur even played with them. Usually these sorts of things are cyclical, and at some point they get better, but they never seem to. Is it coaching, lack thereof, organizational philosophy, execution, not enough emphasis in the minors? It just never seems to be any good. I know this is a speculative question, but it drives me crazy. I often find myself wondering if this team can defer the power play and just play 5-on-5 instead. On a side note, I would recommend getting these new book, My Effin' Life, a cool memoir based on the scenes of a musician that has a lot more going on than just playing the bass. Cheers and stay warm. P.S. Scott, make sure you get a good caterer for the wedding. The food and booze is what guests remember the most. Way ahead of you on that. The Habs' last good power play was when Andrei Markov and PK Subban were both here, because they had guys who could disperse the puck and shoot the puck. It's getting better in some of their efforts. It's just game to game, throw it out the window. And sometimes power play too is just forget about it. Kirby Dach coming back will help things a lot, I think, in that regard, because he's a very good distributor of the puck. Juraj Slafkovsky continuing to blossom. Joshua Waugh growing into that role. Maybe trusting Jesse Ylönen a little bit more might help too. I also think, and this is going to be controversial, they need to find somebody else other than Mike Matheson to run that. A lot of it is they're too static. They can pass the puck great, cross the zone, this and that, but teams are in their box covering the major points there. They can leave a guy in front of the net because they're covering both wings, they're covering the guys at the point, and there's just no threat. They need to diversify the way they attack and get a little bit more fluid with it. It is cyclical, and usually it'll come good again. I think once, fingers crossed, someone like Lane Hudson comes in, you're going to see that change a whole bunch. We have another question. This one comes from Declan. Hi, folks. Been a Habs fan since I was 5, and I'm now 61. We lived in Montreal when I was a boy up to age 9. In all my years following soccer and hockey, both field and ice hockey, I can see a pattern in team sports being repeated here. In the case of this year's vintage of the Habs, they are a middle range team able to match the level of the opposition play, be that high or low, but not quite good enough to dictate the level of play that this particular match is going to be played at. This explains the good performances against strong teams and losing to the Sharks. It's almost as if a useful but poor side drags the Habs down to a level which opponents are able to play at. And once the game is at a Dyson vacuum cleaner level, they beat our team because, they suck. Got it. Smart. They're able to beat our team because they're able to play in AHL level hockey. What do you think? Regards, Declan from Dublin, Ireland. I think that's a great point. We've talked about it a lot, that the Habs play down to their opponents. Their biggest games this year have been against teams way out of their league. So it's, I think there's a lot to that. I'd be curious why that happens, whether it's a mental thing or something else. Because sometimes against bad teams, they come out, play great, and still lose, but they played well. And it's a mess. One final question from Claude. Hey guys, Evgeny Volokhin's numbers, 14, 2-4 record, 1.45 goals against, and a 942 save percentage seem remarkable. Of course, my excitement level would depend on the level of opposition. Do you guys know how the MHL compares to the CHL or NCAA? So as I understand it, the MHL is KHL's junior league. The VHL is their AHL level. And Russia's junior league, well, it has some talented players, is probably not up to the same overall quality that you would find in the NCAA and the CHL. I'm going to go check out Elite Prospects really quick, just because I want to actually take, wow, Yevgeny Volokhin was the first thing to show up when I Googled Yevgeny, which tells me a lot about my Twitter feed here. I want to take a look just at the MHL as a whole, because he's up to 15, 3-4 since that last email, which is, quite frankly, stunning. So I'm looking at some of the scoring here, a little over a point per game at the top of the league there. I don't see a lot of guys who've already been picked by teams here just because of whatever reason that might be. because they're being led by Nikita Suryev, who has 50 points in 43 games. He's 18 years old. He's eligible. He's 67th ranked. I think the MHL is definitely a step well below the CHL. Just overall quality is not there. You don't have import players coming in. And a lot of these guys who are very good here used to come over to the CHL. And I believe the import ban changed things a little bit there, which not crazy about that. None of these kids really did anything to have that happen to them, but it's a step below. However, his numbers are outstanding. It's really hard to argue with that. Just kind of looking at his numbers last year with the same team in the MHL, he was 26-3, 2.12 goals against, 927 save percentage. He's been really good out there. Admittedly, I don't know much about him, and it's very hard to, scout some of these leagues sometimes. Overall, I'd say, keep your expectations in check a little bit here. Because I don't know when he's going to come over to, come to rookie camp or any of these other things because of the political state of the world right now. And that might rob the Habs of a chance to see a really young goaltending prospect. He's only 18. He turns 19 in April. There's no rush to get him over here right now. They have a good chunk of goaltenders, and I'd have to check with our European expert at Eyes on the Prize to see how long his contract might go for. But overall, I mean, the numbers are impressive, but I would recommend kind of keeping things in focus here. The MHL is not the CHL or the NCAA. If he goes up to the VHL or gets some KHL games and is playing that well, oh yeah, through the roof, baby. Get that hype train going. But for right now, I would just bring that back in a little bit. Hopefully, if there's someone who has watched more of these games, please let us know. I'm always happy to get a scouting report on a player like this. However, we're going to wrap the show up here. I've been your host. I'm Scott Matla at Scott Matla on Twitter. You can follow us at LO_Canadiens. Listen to us wherever you get your daily podcasts on Google, Apple, Spotify. Check us out on YouTube if video is your thing. Check out Locked On Sports Today, 24/7 stream with all of our local experts all in one place. You might see us pop up in there. We will be back with 3 Up and 3 Down, some more game recaps and everything coming up next week. But for now, we'll see y'all later.